It took 30 years for the $10 billion James Webb Space Telescope to get to this point. The landing area for the telescope was Kourou in French Guiana. It is the most powerful telescope that NASA has ever built. So far, the James Webb Space Telescope has only just opened its eyes. The universe already looks more strange and beautiful than anyone could have imagined. The camera has found something shocking on Charon, Pluto's largest moon. Something NASA never wanted us to know. This far away, icy rock is mysteriously covered in hydrogen peroxide, which is used to clean wounds. Why do they want to keep it so secret? Pay attention, because what we learn could change the way we see the world. NASA's Webb telescope was investigating again, and what it discovered on Charon, Pluto's biggest moon, is making a lot of noise. Scientists have found some strange things that are making them scratch their heads. Don't worry, we're not talking about aliens. That's what they want you to think. Anyway, they found something so strange that it might change everything we thought we knew about our solar system. They may not be ready to share all the facts just yet. Let's begin with Charon. This huge rock covered in ice is floating along with Pluto in the faraway Kuiper Belt, a place where the sun's warmth is mostly just a rumor. Charon is about half the size of Pluto. Since they are so far away, more than 3 billion miles, that's billion with a B, they're pretty much best friends as they circle each other in space. Scientists knew that Charon was full of water ice because NASA's New Horizons project flew by it in 2015. But until now, they didn't know much else. There's a reason why this isn't all over the news. That's how science works. It burns slowly. There isn't a big, shocking revelation. Instead, there are small steps toward knowledge. If NASA finds hydrogen peroxide, they're not trying to hide anything, but they also know that most people won't be too excited about it. Still, these small discoveries are the basis for everything we know about space and pave the way for the big discoveries that everyone dreams of. The most interesting thing about this find is what it says about space in general. We think of big planets, bright stars, and maybe even aliens when we think of space. The chemistry in space is also very strange and hard to explain. It's like a huge lab where radiation and harsh conditions make chemicals that don't seem to belong there. Despite being covered in ice, hydrogen peroxide forms on a moon that never gets warm from the sun. This is the kind of strange space chemistry that keeps scientists interested. The carbon dioxide is a little less clear. Carbon dioxide doesn't just come out of thin air like hydrogen peroxide does when radiation hits water. Scientists think that strikes from meteors could be to blame. Imagine a rock from space hitting Charon's surface and letting out gases that were stuck under the ice. In the early days of the solar system, these effects would have happened a lot more often. This means that the carbon dioxide could be a holdover from billions of years ago. When we find these things, it's like finding an old artifact that tells us something about Charon's early surroundings. What makes all of this so interesting is the thought that these faraway, cold, and dead places are still moving. There are more than just rocks moving around in space. They change over time, have chemistry, and hold secrets about the past that are hard for us to understand. Carbon dioxide and hydrogen peroxide may not seem important, but they are signs of processes that are happening all the time, even in the coldest parts of our solar system. We can't say enough about how important it is to find these drugs. They tell us what the surface of Charon is like, how it's been hit by space rocks, and how radiation has affected it. Scientists can use this knowledge to make models of how Charon and other bodies like it have changed over time. It's not just about Charon either. This kind of study can help us understand other moons, dwarf planets, and even comets that live in similar conditions. It helps us learn more about the universe as a whole to understand the science at work in these very faraway places. Also, it's important to note that these kinds of findings show how amazing our technology has become. Just think about it. Pluto was a fuzzy dot in our binoculars not long ago. We are now looking at its moon's chemical makeup from billions of miles away. The James Webb Space Telescope changes everything. It lets us see the world in ways that were unimaginable not long ago. It's truly amazing that we can find something as specific as hydrogen peroxide on a moon that we can barely see from Earth. Finding elements and chemistry on a frozen moon may not seem like important science, but it has huge effects. We learn more about how the universe works with each new molecule we find. It helps us figure out the big question: how did the solar system come to be? How did moons and planets change over time? Could the things we see on Charon happen somewhere else? Maybe even in a world where life could exist? Scientists keep looking deeper, pushing the limits, and analyzing even the smallest signs because of questions like these. Charon is only a small part of a much bigger story. This story is about where we are in the world and how our solar system fits into the huge background of space. Every finding, no matter how small, is like a sentence in that story. Together, they tell a story that spans billions of years and billions of miles. It's simple to miss these little steps and only pay attention to the big events that make the news. Things would not go as planned without these small moves. They are built on the shoulders of many other finds like this one. The new telescope from NASA shows us more about Charon. What did they see that makes us think differently about it? NASA's Webb Telescope has shown us things we didn't know about Charon before. What the Webb Telescope found is just the start. People have yet to find out a lot more, not just on Charon but also in the Kuiper Belt and other places. This part of space hasn't been studied much. It's a huge frontier that's just now starting to show its secrets. We still have a lot to learn about our own solar system, even though this is a pretty cool sight. We keep getting more questions as we learn more, and we understand how much more there is to learn. These kinds of finds keep the spirit of exploration living. They tell us that we should explore every part of our solar system, even the coldest and farthest away ones. They hold secrets that could change how we think about everything from how our solar system came to be to the basic rules that govern the world. The fact that hydrogen peroxide and carbon dioxide were found on Charon is only a small part of this huge study. This is a step forward, a piece of the picture, and a thought that we can always learn more. The James Webb Space Telescope could find something else. It could be even more complicated chemistry or signs of processes we haven't thought of yet. Every new thing we see is a chance to learn, to understand more, and to keep discovering. Things are really big out there, and we're just getting started. The story of Charon, Pluto, and the whole Kuiper Belt is still being written. Each new find helps us figure out where we fit in the universe. The James Webb Space Telescope, which is our new space spy, wants to look at Pluto again. What do you think? We thought we knew what that tiny ball of ice was, but it looks like it's hiding something. It's getting interesting. Maybe life, an ocean. Let's look at why the world's most forgotten loser might still be able to win. The Kuiper Belt is home to Pluto and a bunch of other cold rocks. We found out that Pluto has a lot of neighbors. And each new neighbor that scientists find makes them wonder, wait, what's even a planet anymore? In 2005, scientists found something in space that looked like it was bigger than Pluto. This made the whole argument even more heated. Of course, everyone wanted to call it the 10th planet, but Pluto and its bigger friend, which was called Xena, were both stripped of their planethood at the time. When you look at what Hubble and New Horizons have found about Pluto, the story gets more difficult. Pluto was a big deal in 1930. An amateur scientist named Clyde Tombaugh found it, and that was it. We now had a 9th planet. But since then, scientists have found other icy bodies besides Neptune, making Pluto less special. When NASA's New Horizons probe flew by Pluto in 2015, it showed how strange and beautiful it really is, with its huge chunks of ice, nitrogen cliffs, and methane lakes. There was more to this world than just a block of ice. It was alive and changing, with scars and shapes left by forces we didn't fully understand. Pluto, our tiny, faraway rock, was as dramatic as the cracks that ran across its surface, cracks that were deeper than the Grand Canyon. Some of these cracks may have formed in a very old ocean that has been slowly freezing and spreading for millions of years. Now let's talk about the bladed landscape. This is made up of mountain-sized chunks of ice that stick out of Pluto's surface like teeth. Try to picture crossing that kind of land. It's not possible. Some experts think that the frozen ocean is made up of more than just water that has frozen. There are hints of organic molecules, like ammonia, which helps make DNA and RNA, which are the building blocks of life. This makes us wonder if life, or something like it, could really live here. This doesn't mean Pluto has life, but it does mean that something might be able to stay there if it were brought there. Besides that, Earth's ice has a strange red tint to it. It turns out that it's stained with some strange, complicated chemicals that may have been made when cosmic rays hit Pluto's surface. This isn't proof that something is living, But it's another reason for scientists to rethink what they know about Pluto. These huge ice sculptures are found all over the Earth, not just in one place. It turns out that they also go around to the far side, covering an area 3 times bigger than anyone thought at first. New Horizons and the James Webb Space Telescope have taught us a lot, but there's still a lot we don't know about Pluto. For example, the far side of the world didn't get as much camera time as we'd have liked. Even though the pictures aren't very clear, they show some interesting details, like more cracks, ice chunks, and questions. It looks like every picture hints at something amazing going on below the surface. It might not be fair that Pluto is no longer a planet. Still, since Pluto doesn't fit the mold, it might be better that way. It's too one-of-a-kind and hard to predict. It has an atmosphere that breaks down every once in a while, huge glaciers that move like a heart, and ice forms that are unlike anything else in our solar system. Pluto is more than just a small rock in the middle of nowhere. It's a living, changing world with stories to tell that are far from over. These spaceships keep surprising us even after we send them off. As the James Webb Space Telescope keeps looking into space, we can't help but wonder what else we don't know. Is there really more hidden below the ice on Pluto? It could be an ocean or biological matter that could start life as we know it, or it could just be a strange, empty world that likes to look mysterious. Pluto still has things to tell us. What new facts are being found about its glaciers? Webb is going to look at Pluto's ice caps. Pluto will not give up easily, that much is certain. We've pushed it to the back of the line and forgotten about it, but it keeps showing up in the news. Who knows? One day, we might have to write the texts all over again. But for now, Pluto is still the great loser. It's the little object that isn't a planet that might have more going on below the surface than we thought. When Clyde Tombaugh saw Pluto for the first time in 1930, it caused a lot of excitement. People thought it was a big world at the time, almost as big as Earth. Our moon was bigger than Pluto at first, but as time went on, we saw that Pluto was much smaller. People thought it might be a planet-sized powerhouse, but it wasn't really that. Still, we were interested in it because it was new and different from what we knew. Even as our knowledge of the solar system grew, Pluto stayed a strange and mysterious world. In 1992, scientists found something else close to Pluto, a small icy object just outside of Pluto's orbit. This changed everything. It wasn't just one thing either. There were first hundreds and then thousands. The Kuiper Belt, a huge group of icy bodies, was becoming clear, and all of a sudden Pluto didn't seem so unique. There were many of them out there, not just one at the edge of the solar system. But the labeling of Pluto isn't the only thing that keeps things interesting. What is going on below and on top of the water? In 2015, NASA's New Horizons flew by and gave us a view of the world that had never been seen before. It was going over 30,000 miles per hour, so we only got a quick look, but what it saw was amazing. Tombaugh Regio, a huge glacier in the shape of a heart, caught people's attention all over the world. Pluto is very interesting because it moves, but that ice is what makes it so interesting. Pluto's mountains aren't always the same. In Tombaugh Regio, the nitrogen ice moves and flows almost like a liquid as the temperature changes. Pluto is one of the most active bodies in our solar system because of these things. Researchers believe that below the rock there may be an ocean that is either slushy or even liquid. This ocean is kept warm by the heat from radioactive decay. The idea that Pluto could have life, even microbial life, suddenly seems a lot more likely if that's true. Large cracks and rocks, some of which are deeper than the Grand Canyon, are all over Pluto's surface. Scientists think that these cracks could be proof that the ocean below the surface is freezing. When water freezes, it expands, pushing the surface apart and making cracks in it. This process has made dramatic scenery with steep cliffs and long, deep valleys. It's not at all like what many people used to think Pluto was, a static, dead world. The strange case of Pluto's bladed landscape is another one. Imagine huge chunks of broken, sharp ice sticking out of the ground like the teeth of a huge animal. Penitents are the names for these features. It is thought that they are made of methane ice. The tall blades form in places where the sunlight is strong enough to sublimate the ice, which turns it straight from solid to gas. They look a lot like things we see in the high Andes of Earth, but they're much bigger. The climate of Pluto is another thing. Pluto is different from most of the other small bodies in the solar system because it has a thin but complicated atmosphere made up mostly of nitrogen with small amounts of methane and carbon monoxide. The sun warms the surface during the day, which makes these gases rise and create a brief hazy atmosphere. Temperatures drop very quickly at night, and a lot of the atmosphere falls back to the ground as snow. These changes happen every day, which makes Pluto's atmosphere one of the most interesting in the solar system. Pluto doesn't have a thick atmosphere, but it does have some effects. The beautiful show it makes by spreading sunlight and making it look like twilight hundreds of miles above the ground is caused by it. This means that Pluto is still partly lit up, bathed in a dim, ghostly glow, even after the sun goes down. These kinds of details help us remember how strange and wonderful the farthest parts of our solar system can be. To understand both bodies, you need to know how Pluto and Charon relate to each other. As their gravity pulls against each other, tidal forces are created that make heat. This could help keep Pluto's ocean below the surface from freezing solid. It's a fine balance that shows how complicated the forces are that are at work even in the farthest reaches of our solar system. Pluto will be studied in more depth than ever before by the James Webb Space Telescope, which will focus on the planet's atmosphere and surface. With Webb's infrared capabilities, scientists will be able to look at the chemicals that make up Pluto's surface and atmosphere. This could lead to new discoveries about Pluto's past and the processes that shape it. There is also hope that Webb could find signs of the elusive deep ocean, or at least add to the proof that it exists. Is there more to Pluto's cold heart than we think? Post your thoughts below. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more if you liked it.